Hi, my name is Paul Pirelli. I am an education coordinator at LULAC Head Start. I work at the Cedar Street Center. And today I would like to do a short video on the effects of language and literacy. It is one of the areas of our curriculum that we teach children, all the way from infant toddlers up to preschool children. And literacy is something that involves a lot of the areas that you see under this large umbrella. It includes things like vocabulary building, word meaning, letters and their letter sounds, the phonemes, and reading and writing. And obviously, these start developmentally with very young children, and we continue on until we get to children who are ready to enter kindergarten. So, one of the first things that I'd like to talk about are for newborns, children who are 2 weeks old and thereabouts in that area. One of the things that I remember doing with my children at a very early age was to show them very bold prints. And it got their brains to start to process right away. And I want to show you some examples of what I mean by that. So let's say a child is 2 weeks old. Their brains are ready and developed to start to learn as soon as they're born. One of the things that we can do is hold up bold patterns for them to look at, no further away than 1 foot from their eyes, because young babies' eyesight isn't fully developed at this point. They see a lot of shadows and blurs, but really up close, they can start to process things. So a pattern like this is something that they could very easily see if you hold it close enough to them. And what I would do with my children is I'd hold it very close to the face, and I would watch their eyes. And that is a very clear sign that they are processing what it is that you're showing them. So anything like this that you can find around the house, I used to use tissue boxes that had designs on them. This I happen to get off the web today. But here's another example of what I mean. A floral print, very large, very bold, and another geometric design. And again, if you hold this up in front of your young infant's face and watch their eyes, you will see that they will be scanning all around, and that's a very good thing because they are processing what it is that you're showing them, and they're creating those connections in the brain, which leads to later on more connections that we are going to create as we continue to talk with them, sing with them, and do different activities with them throughout their young lives. As they get a little bit older, some of the things that we do are sing songs with our children, play music a lot, lullabies, children's songs. And one of the favorites that I hear a lot when I go into classrooms are Old MacDonald. And what I have here are some of the farm animals that can be used while the song is being sung. So I'm going to give you a very brief example of what that might look like in a classroom. So we'll start with the cow. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a cow, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo-moo here and a moo-moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere moo-moo. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a pig, E-I-E-I-O, with an oink oink here and an oink oink there, here an oink, there an oink, everywhere oink oink. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And one more. And on that farm he had a duck, E-I-E-I-O, with a quack quack here and a quack quack there, here a quack, there a quack, everywhere quack quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. So when a song like this is sung with children, obviously they have lots of fun with it, and they like to join in and make the sounds of the animals. With a little bit older children, we can take this example a little bit further. When children are 1.5, 2 years old, maybe, in that area, we can start asking them a little bit more in-depth questioning after the song is sung and say to them, do you think this is a farm animal? And what is this animal's name? And where does the animal live? If first of all they say, no, that's not a farm animal, one of the things that we can follow up with in terms of questioning is, why not? Where does this animal live? You can start having conversations like that with your child. Here's another example. Is this a farm animal? And if they say no, we say, okay, why not? What's the name of this animal? And if they don't know, we can tell them. This is a polar bear. Polar bears live where it's very, very cold, and there's lots of snow, and they have heavy fur, and it's white, and it's very soft. And we can have those kinds of conversations with children to extend their learning and make more of those connections in their brain so that it will lead to further development for literacy and language as they get older. So we can start off with a very simple song like Old MacDonald and then build onto that with categorizing animals that do live on a farm and animals that don't live on a farm, and if they don't live on a farm, why? Where do they live? What do they look like? What are the kinds of things that they might eat? These are the types of discussions that would be very beneficial to young children as they are learning. So in our infant toddler rooms, those are the kinds of activities that would be taking place. With our 3-year-olds that leave our classrooms, the infant toddler classrooms, and move on to the preschool, they join a group of children who are ages 3 through 5 years old. And at 5 years old, those children get ready to move on to kindergarten. And by that time, we are really working hard with them in language and literacy to get them ready to read and write. Now, one of the programs that LULAC offers is a program called Sounds. And I'll show you the spelling of that. It's very similar to the word sound without the D. And this program basically talks about the phoneme of each letter. What does that mean? Every letter of the alphabet, as we all know them and learned them in school, has a sound. And that's exactly what a phoneme is. So when we talk about a letter and its sound, we're talking about phonemes and making children aware of the sound of each letter. So in this program that we have these plastic letters, and they're rather large, and they're very nice to hold, and they're fun to touch. I don't have them here today, but I certainly made examples of them, and these can be made at home on pieces of paper. And we start with some, just a couple of letters of the alphabet. S is one example. So, in this program, what we do is we present the letter to the child like this and say, S. And that's it. We don't tell the name of the letter. We don't say anything except the sound that it makes, the phoneme. S. And we invite the child to repeat that sound by doing that. And if they don't prompt, we ask them, can you say that same sound? S. And so we get them, after a short while, to be able to make the sound of the letter that we present to them. This can be made into a game, and some children may be hesitant to want to do this, and if they do show you that they're hesitant, they're probably telling you that they're not quite ready to do something like this, or it's not fun enough. So take their lead. If they feel that they want to go and do something else, you say, okay, that's good. Maybe tomorrow we can play this game again. Next day, you invite them back, and you pick up another letter, t, and invite them. T. And if they respond, you can go back to the one that you introduced earlier, s. Eventually, what you would like to do is hold up the letter and not say the sound and have them present the sound to you. That's when you know they have it, without your prompting them at all. So, we can do this with a few. Here's another consonant, the lowercase p. And by the way, we use all lowercase letters. The only time I would recommend you using an uppercase letter is if you want to write their name out and hang it someplace in the house. Maybe on their bedroom door, maybe on the refrigerator, maybe over their bed. First letter of their name capital, all the other letters in their name lowercase. And eventually children will be able to recognize it and see it in different places and know that that's what their name is and how it's spelled. So in this case, I would do p and invite them to repeat the sound until I present it to them without making the sound, and they say it for me independently. Now, in order to create a word, we need a vowel. We need at least one vowel, and I have two examples here today. The A, lowercase, and we always use the short sound. So in this case, it's ah, ah, and have the child repeat. Another vowel, ah, ah, the short sound. So, very briefly, what we would do next, and by the way, what I just showed you probably would take place over a matter of weeks and maybe longer, sometimes shorter. It depends on the readiness of the child and the age of the child and if they're really processing this information. But the next step in the process is, after you introduce the sounds of the letters, we take a combination. Let me get one here. For sake of not only having two hands, I'm going to do this. If a child was sitting next to me, I'd put them out on the table. And the object of this is to have them only say the sound, not the name of the letter. We're not teaching them the names, we're just teaching them the sounds. S, ah, t. And that's the object. When you point, they say the sound. S, ah, t. The faster you point, the faster they repeat, until the sounds blend together and they begin to say the word. Eventually, as you're going through this process with them, a little bit faster, you ask them, do you hear what you're saying? Do you know that word? You're saying a word. S-at, s-at. Once they get it, you'll see a look on their face as though they discovered something very new and interesting. And that's where the process really starts to take off. Because now you could start a whole series of lessons about introducing children to new words. Once that happens, you can start getting from the library some very simple books, like Dr. Seuss books, that have many, many words repeated throughout the text again and again. And if the children know the vowel sounds, the short vowel sounds, and a lot of the consonant letter sounds, the phonemes, they'll be reading. And it's really all about starting at a very early age, introducing language to children, and songs, and conversations, and using vocabulary and explaining what words mean, showing them the letters, letting them know that those letters make sounds. Pretty soon they'll begin to read, and following shortly after that, they'll begin to write. And the first thing they really should be writing is their name. Uppercase first letter, lowercase the rest of their letters in their names. I just presented to you a span from birth all the way up to 5 years old that comes under the heading of language and literacy, which is one section of the curriculum that we teach at LULAC Head Start. I hope you got something out of this. Feel free to use any materials that you have around the house, and when you locate some and are able to do this on a consistent basis for short periods of time only at home, you will make a huge impact in your child's learning. I wish you lots of good luck, and I'd love to hear any comments that you have going forward in the future. And for now, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.